Welcome back to my next part of the design of bridges. Okay, in my part 1 I have taken the design bending moment due to dead load, and then in second part I have found bending moment due to live load or wheel load. It was an exhaustive session as we should know how to place the wheel load to create maximum bending moment. Okay, those who are watching my video as a first timers, they have to watch my earlier videos. They have to watch my earlier videos to understand this video, because the design of bridges cannot be completed in a single video. Okay, I have divided this series in part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay, part 1 I have found the bending moment due to dead load, and in part 2 I have found the bending moment due to wheel load, that is class A loading we had. Then now we are going to find bending moment due to impact load. Bending moment due to impact load. So I think if I am not wrong, it is step 5. Okay. Then step 4 I have completed with the bending moment due to wheel load. Okay. Now our step 5 is bending moment due to impact load. Due to impact load. Okay, this is very simple. It is not as difficult as finding or determining the bending moment due to live load. It is simply following the IRC formula. IRC 5 has given a formula for finding the impact factor. Once you find that impact factor, you simply multiply it with the live load, because impact load is also due to the braking of wheels. Braking action of wheels, due to the motion of the wheels, there will be an impact on the road. So it is dependent on wheel load bending moment. Okay, to recall, I have written already here the dead load bending moment, which I have calculated in part 1, is 50.007 kilonewton meter, and the wheel load, you can represent it as wheel load or simply the live load. Okay, so that is 66.405 kilonewton meter. Okay, now we are finding out first impact factor. So there is a formula to find out impact factor. If you refer IRC 6, sorry I said IRC 5, it is IRC 6. If you refer it, you have a formula which I already did it when I was taking the section 1, load and load combination and general design requirement. There also I have explained about this impact factor. So this is again I am saying impact factor is equal to 4.5 by 6 plus L effective. It is L effective span. Okay, they have written it capital L. It represents the effective span. Okay, so already we know from our question data what is our effective span. It was L effective was 5.86. Okay, so 4.5 by 6 plus L effective. This is only for class A loading. Okay, for class B there is another method, another formula. For class AA there is another approach. Okay, so only for class A loading this is the formula for impact loading. So we get, when we calculate this, we get the impact factor as 0.379. Once you find out, you can easily find out the impact bending moment, that is bending moment due to impact load. It is very simple. Simply multiply the impact factor with the bending moment due to wheel load or live load. Okay, so impact factor is 0.379. Okay, and as I have written it already, for a recall, it is 66.405. So on multiplying this, we get the third bending moment, that is due to impact. So it is equal to 25.167 kilonewton meter. So with this we got all the bending moments. Bending moment due to dead load, bending moment due to live load or wheel load, and bending moment due to impact load. So the major hurdle was the impact load bending, sorry, the wheel load bending moment. Okay, that was a very difficult task for us. We have to understand that part. Remaining all is easy. Dead load was also easy, and this impact is also easy. So you have to understand part 2 very well, how to place a vehicle load according to the type of loading. So once you get this one, very easily we get the design bending moment. Okay, so the total design bending moment, our next thing will be to determine the total design bending moment. So you can represent it like this: M design. Okay, M design is equal to bending moment due to dead load plus bending moment due to live load plus bending moment due to impact load. Numbers are there with you. Simply place the numbers, sum it up, you get the design bending moment. Plus 25.167. So this will be the total bending moment coming on the slab, deck slab, okay, for which we have to design it. So it's coming out to be 141.579 kilonewton meter. So this is the bending moment. So the bridge slab which you are going to design shall resist this bending moment. Okay, so with this the step 5 is completed, because step 4 was very big step. Okay, now coming to next step, step 6. This is the design of slab. So design of slab, any member, it may be a bridge slab, or it can be a beam, or it can be a column. Design actually means determining the section size, that is concrete section size, thickness. If it is a flexible member like slab, it is thickness. If it is a beam, then breadth and width and depth, that is the section design. Okay, column also the section size. If it's a slab, the thickness of the slab. This is called concrete section design. And second design will be the steel design, that is reinforcement design. How much steel has to be provided, that is the second steel. So based on this, what is the moment, what is the thickness of slab required to resist this bending moment, and how much is the steel required to resist this bending moment. So that is what is called as design of slab. Okay, so what I will do is, first I will find out thickness of slab. So again I will divide these into, subcategorize into first concrete design, then second steel design, and third will be distributory steel. Okay, so in that way you can remember it very well, thickness of slab. Okay, so if you remember the formula, D is equal to under root M by QB. Q or R, what we have assumed I don't remember. So this is M design by Q into B. I think I have used R into B. So what is your design bending moment? Your design bending moment is, just now you have calculated 141.579. 141.579. It is in kilonewton meter, and thickness will be generally in mm's. Okay, it will be generally in mm's. So you have to multiply with 10 to the power of 6. Okay, so R, I think it was 1.072. I'll just check it. Width, it will be for 1 meter. So B will be 1000. B will be 1000. Okay, so if you do this, you get the thickness of, this is small d is effective thickness. Effective thickness, it will be 359.25. Okay, 359.25 mm, which you can approximate it to 360 mm. Okay, this is the effective thickness, right? So overall thickness we will find out by assuming the diameter of steel bar which we will be using, and the clear cover. So if you assume 20 mm dia bar, if you assume 20 mm dia bar, okay, and a clear cover of 30 mm, then the total overall depth thickness of the slab will be effective thickness plus half the diameter of bar plus clear cover. So it is 400 mm. So perfectly whatever we have assumed, we are arriving at that. Now if you want, you can go for 450 mm also, but minimum requirement is 400 mm. Okay, so like this we got the thickness of the slab. Fine. So this is what we have assumed, D is equal to 400 mm. This is the minimum thickness required to resist this bending moment. Okay, you want, as a design engineer, you can increase it by 50 mm also more, provided it is going to affect the economy, because your construction of bridge involves crores and crores of rupees. Okay, simply if you increase 50 mm thickness also in the entire length of the bridge, it is going to increase the cost enormously. So we have to keep that from the economical point of view also. We should try to put the minimum requirements. Okay, so this is how we got the design. Thickness of slab is completed. Now coming to the area of steel, as I said you, my second part of design will be area of steel. So this is working stress method. Okay, so first is thickness of slab, second is area of steel, main steel, that is. Okay, represented by AST. Okay, once again we have to design, we have to get the reinforcement to resist this bending moment, right? So area of steel, if you remember the formula, M is equal to AST into sigma ST into J into D. Okay, where AST is the AST is the area of steel, sigma ST is the permissible stress in steel, okay, J is the lever arm factor, and D is the effective depth, right? So I want the area of steel, so this is equal to M by sigma ST J D. All the values are there with you from the part 1 and part 2. Design constants we have calculated in part 1. So I am just taking the values. Design of bending moment is 141.579. As I said, you have to multiply it with the 10 to the power of 6 to convert it into Newton mm. So divided by sigma ST, it is Fe 415, and according to IRC 5, permissible stress is equal to IRC 21, IRC 21, it is for Fe 415, it is 200 Newton per mm square. Already in step 1, when I have given the given data step, there I have already explained about this. So sigma ST is 200, and J, if you remember, J was 0.907, and D is 360 mm. J is lever arm constant, 1 minus K by 3. Okay, so if you are working along with me, then you can refer the notes. Okay, 0.907 into D, if I do it, I get the area of steel as 2180 mm square. Okay, this is the area of steel required in 1 meter width length of the slab. Okay, now as an engineer, you cannot directly give to the supervisor like this, area of steel provide 2180 mm square steel. No, you are not supposed to give area of steel in such a way. You have to select the diameter of bar, and you have to say the spacing of the bars. Okay, so as you know, in the assumption, when I was calculating the effective thickness, I assumed 20 mm dia bars. So continuing with the same thing, I am going to calculate the spacing of the bars. So adopting or selecting, okay, adopting 20 mm dia bars. Okay, we will calculate spacing. Spacing is equal to, if you remember the formula, it is area of 20 mm dia bar by total area of the steel. It is in 1 meter length, so we have to multiply with 1 meter width, we have to calculate it with 1000, multiply with the 1000. So it's 20 mm dia bar, so pi d square by 4 divided by capital AST, just now we have calculated, it's 2180 into 1000. Okay, so this we will get spacing. So we got spacing of the bar as 140. If you see it here, it's coming as 144 mm. So you can approximate. Spacing is generally represented by S suffix V. Okay, so we are just reducing it to 140 mm center to center. According to the calculations, we got it as 144 mm center to center. But because getting 4 mm on the site is difficult, you can reduce. You are not supposed to increase, because if you increase the spacing, the total still gets reduced. Okay, you can provide a bit more than the what you got it. Fine. So that is why I am reducing the spacing instead of 144 mm to 140 mm center to center. So finally you have to write a statement: provide 20 mm dia bars at 140 mm center to center. So this is the design of main steel. So the supervisor, whoever is in charge of that site, he will understand that he need to supervise the work for 20 mm dia bar at 140 mm center to center. So the second design is completed. Okay. The third, first is thickness of slab completed. Second is area of steel, we have completed main steel. Now coming to the distributory steel. Okay. Distributory or distribution, you can use any word. Distributory reinforcement. Okay, this is a distributory reinforcement. So what is distributory reinforcement? It is a secondary reinforcement. This is the main reinforcement which will be provided at the bottom. Okay, perpendicular to it we provide distributory reinforcement. The purpose of providing the distributory reinforcement is to take up the thermal stresses, that is temperature stresses, also to place the main steel in position. Okay, if you don't provide a cover over it with the distributory steel, then there are chances during vibration, during the vibration of concreting, there may be chances of disturbance of the main steel. So that is the purpose of distributory steel. So in limit state design of slabs, beams, in columns, you might have seen we provide distributory steel based on a percentage, okay, like 0.12%, 0.14%, like that. Okay, but here in bridge slab we have to design the distributory reinforcement. Even distributory reinforcement shall be in to resist some certain bending moment. Okay, again as per IRC 6, okay, area of distributory steel, bending moment to resist that bending moment which we have to design to resist. Okay, so I am writing it as a distributory. It shall be to resist a certain moment. So that moment is equal to 0.3 into bending moment due to live load plus impact load. Okay, live load, that is wheel load. So what the books are suggesting, wheel load plus impact load, together they are referring it as live load. Okay, so 0.3 times the live load plus impact load plus 0.2 times the bending moment due to dead load. So let us calculate. 0.3 times the bending moment due to live load was 66.405 and impact was 25.167. Okay, hope, plus 0.2 times bending moment due to dead load, which was 50.007. So we get some amount of bending moment to resist the flexure. Okay, so that is equal to 37.473 kilonewton meter. Okay, right? So this is the we have to design the steel to resist this bending moment. Okay, so we are designing it in the same way. The steps are same. Okay, the same way, like M is equal to, instead of the main steel design bending moment, now here this was the design bending moment. Okay, now instead of the design bending moment we will write it distributory reinforcement. Okay, M distributory divided by sigma ST J D is equal to area of distributory steel. Okay, right? Now this D is not the same D. Okay, right? So D is the effective depth from the center of the bar to the bottom of the slab. Okay, now effective depth, now we have to assume some diameter. Okay, so assuming this is a secondary reinforcement and bending moment is small compared to this bend. This was 141.571 and this is 37.473. So you can go for 10 mm dia bar. Okay, adopting or using 10 mm dia bars. Okay, we get D is equal to total 400, okay, minus 30 mm clear cover, minus 20 mm bottom bar, bottom reinforcement diameter, minus half the present diameter, okay, minus half the 10 mm. Okay, so this will give you the effective depth that shall be taken in the, so it is 345 mm. So this you have to use and get area of distributary steel. M distributary was 37.473. So 37.473 into 10 to the power of 6 by sigma st is 200 into J is 0.907 into D is this G. This is the only difference. Okay, so we get an area of steel in mm square, that is 602 mm square. Now you are providing 10 mm diameter bar. Spacing you will get, spacing is equal to, already I have explained you the formula, area of one bar divided by total area into 1000. So this will give me the spacing of distributary reinforcement. So this is coming at 130.4. So I can make it as 130 mm. 130 mm center to center. So again in the end you have to write same like this. Provide 10 mm bar, 10 mm diameter bar at 130 mm center to center as distributary reinforcement. So that statement you have to write it in the design. Okay, so I am writing it, you can see. So provide 10 mm dia bars at 130 mm center to center as distributary reinforcement, just to distinguish whether it is main or distributary. You can write or you can avoid. Okay, so this is the reinforcement that comes above the main reinforcement. So with this our step 6 is completed, that is design of the section. Okay, so 6 steps are completed. So this was the easiest part. Step 5 and step 6 were easy, and now again we are going into the difficult part. Okay, so step 7, design is completed. You have got the thickness, you have got the steel, main steel, distributary steel, and design is completed, almost loads, everything is completed. Okay, but how to believe that your design is correct, whether it is going to sustain or not, right? So we have to give checks. Okay, so in Business Labs we are going to do 2 checks most majorly. One is check for shear, the other is check for bond length. Okay, so check for shear, this is our next step. Step 7, check for shear. So this is also a very big step. Understanding is very much required. Okay, you have to understand. So all of you know that shear force is maximum at the support. Yes, maximum at the support. As you know, for flexion members, bending moment is maximum at the center, shear force is maximum at the support. Okay, at the support. Fine. So we have to check for maximum shear force. Okay, so as shear force is one thing I just was recalling, we have to find out once again shear force for dead load, shear force for live load, that is wheel load, and shear force for impact load. Okay, so again as step 5, this is also a big step. Step 5 or step 4. Okay, again this is also a very big step. So as shear force is maximum at the support, now we have to place the maximum load axials near the support. Okay, if you remember how we placed the axials at the center of support, at the center of the span to create maximum bending moment. Here also we have to place the load, 114 kilonewton axial load near the support to create maximum shear force. This is the point which you have to remember. Okay, I am just writing down as shear force is maximum near support. I am repeating it by writing. Okay, near support. Okay, place the wheel loads. Place the wheel load near the support, considering the dispersion along the span. Okay, I will try to explain slowly. Please try to understand. This check is very important, and also it is very calculative. More calculations are required here. Okay, the subject, as I said, shear force is maximum near the support. We have to place the axles near the support. When we were determining the bending moment, we place the axle at the CG of the slab, right? Now here we have to place, there are two supports. So these two are the supports. You can refer this figure. Okay, there are two supports. So this is one support, this is one support. Fine. So you have to place this wheel near to the support. Okay, it is not symmetric, it is just near the support. Okay, in such a way near the support, considering the dispersion along the span. So this is important. Now dispersion, so this is going to disperse, the load is going to disperse. Okay, here I will draw the support also. See, 180 mm support. In my first drawing, if you remember, there was a support here, because you know, this drawing one section I am showing you, this is a column. Okay, this is another column, suppose. Okay, now our slab will rest like this, means a part of slab will go inside the support. Okay, so your support, it has gone inside, your beam, your slab has gone inside by 180 mm, because this is 360 mm. Okay, so that I am drawing it here. Here also I am drawing this. Okay, edge. Fine. Now this is going to get dispersed like this. You are placing in such a way that the load is getting dispersed. Okay, now in the cross section you can see this is the load wheel, it's getting dispersed like this, isn't it? Okay, so it's ending here. So same way here it is here. Okay, so this is the dispersion. This is dispersion across the carriageway width, and this is the dispersion across the span. Okay, now already the IRC has said considering the dispersion along the span. So if it is along the span, then I am supposed to consider this dispersion. Okay, now this is the direction of motion I am erasing because I need some space. Let me say this is at a distance x1 from the support. This is at a distance x1. Okay, then because it is called, the dispersion is equal both sides. Okay, this side dispersion is equal, half this side, half this side. So if this is x1, this is also x1. Please try to understand. Okay, in the plan, in the section, the dispersion is like this. Okay, in the plan if you see, the load is getting dispersed in the carriageway direction as well as across the span. Okay, this dispersion is equal to, as per IRC, already I have used it in the bending moment calculation. Dispersion along the span, dispersion along the span was represented by B, which was equal to B plus 2 into H plus T. I hope you are recalling it. This is across the span. Okay, so this is x1, this is x1. So your B is equal to x1 plus x1. Fine. B is the width of dispersion across the span, along the span. Okay, is equal to B. B is width of contact. So as per IRC, it is 0.25. IRC 6, 250 mm plus 2 into thickness of concrete 0.075 plus thickness of slab 400 mm. So from this we get this as 0.6 meters. Okay, 0.6 meters from the free edge. From the free edge. Okay, if you want it from here, then it will be 0. From support. From support, x1 will be equal to 0.6 plus 0.18. This is 0.18. In the section you will understand. This is 0.6. This dispersion is 0.6. Your support is here. So 0.6 plus 0.18. So from support, the dispersion is 0.78 meters. Is that clear? Okay. Now x2 same. From the same support, this is x2 because second axle. Okay, this is x2. So you know this center to center distance is 1.2 meters. Yes, already I have explained class A loading. Axle to axle distance is 1.2 meters. So x2 will be x1 plus 1.2. That is 0.78 plus 1.2. So that comes out to be 1.98 meters. So like this you have to calculate x1 and x2. In the bending moment calculations, effective span was same whether it was for the axial 1 or whether it is for the axial 2. But here the effective span B effective 1, B effective will be different for first axial, it will be different from for the second axial because x1 and x2 are separate. There in the bending moment, because axles were placed symmetrically across the CG of the bridge slab, it was same. Whether you take this support or whether you take this support, that x1 distance was same. But here now x1 is 0.78 for first axial and 1.98 for the second axial. Remember this. This is for first axial and this is for second axial. From one support we have to take either this support or this support. I have taken this support, I have placed the wheel axle in such a way that it is very near to the support. So the dispersion along the span is equal to, like this I have calculated, right? So I am not going to erase this figure because I need it. So I will just come back here. Okay, I will continue from here. So now you have to find out effective span. That was the dispersion length. Now we have to find out effective span. Okay, so again I will write as 1 and 2. First is to calculate the effective width of slab, because our design of deck slab bridge is effective width method. BE you have to find out. So to calculate the effective width of the slab for axial 1. Okay, so BE1, I am going to write it as BE1. Same formula, K x1 into 1 minus x1 by L. Okay, this L is small l into plus BW. So once again, as we did it in step 3, again we have step 4, we have to do the same thing. So x1 already we have calculated, now K you have to calculate. K depends on, yes, K depends on L by L. Here L is total carriageway width and this is the span, which is 5.86. So the same value remains. So we got that value as 2.7, this was 1.365. Okay, for a value of 1.365 from table of IRC, from table of IRC, we get K value as 2.772. Okay, you have to remember this. So it's a repetition. Okay, so this is K is completed, X1 is completed, and BW. Okay, so BW is, once I calculate everything, then I will place in the formula. Okay, now BW, once again, if you remember, BW was W plus 2H. Okay, this is W. So for class A, W is 0.5 plus 2 into 0.075. It comes around 0.65 meter. BW is 0.65. So everything is ready. Let us calculate the effective width for first axle, this axle. Okay, for first axle. So that is equal to K. K, I got it as 2.772 into X1. Where is X1? Oh, I have erased. How much was X1 we have calculated now? Just now X1 was 0.6 plus 0.18, 0.78 meters. Okay, just now I have erased. So that value you have to take 0.78 Kx into 1 minus X1 by L. Okay, plus BW is 0.65. Okay, so this, after calculation, you will arrive at 1.874 plus 0.65. So BE1, you are getting it as 2.524 meter for one wheel. 2.524 meter. Okay, I am trying to show you like this. 2.52 meter. Once again, the two wheels effective length will overlap. This is more than 1.8 meters because two wheels are at a separation of 1.8 meters. So one wheel's effective width will superimpose the effective width of the, the dispersion of the another wheel. Right? So in that cases, what we have to do is, we will not change this. This remains the same. So only this, instead of calculating, because one tire is overlapping, instead of this BW, okay, this is BW. If you see the formula, this is BW. Instead of calculating it for a single tire, we will calculate it for all together, from here to here. Okay? So let us see how you people will recall that BW is equal to W plus 2 into H. Formula remains same. This W we have to calculate for all the four tires together. Okay, so therefore calculate W for four wheels together, because one is overlapping the other. So we have to, this will remain same, no effect for this. K, X1, this will not change, only PW, because that is going to overlap. Fine. So what we will do is, we will find out W for four tires. Okay. So I am not writing the value, I am just calculating it directly from here. This is 500. Okay. 250, I am sorry, this is 250 or 0.25 plus center to center 1.8. Okay. Plus here to here 1.42 plus again from here to here 1.8 plus 0.25. This is four wheels together. Okay, this plus I am just calculating it directly. BW is equal to, this is W plus 2 into thickness of wearing cone. So I got BW as, I get, after revising, I get BW as 5.67 meters. Same value we got it when we designed the, when we calculated or when we placed the load for finding the bending moment. Okay, so 5.67. So instead of 0.65, we have to replace now this BE1 में, in this BE1, okay, so BE1 is equal to, once again same value I am writing 1.874 plus instead of 0.65 for one wheel, 5.67 for all the four wheels. Okay, so this comes out to be 7.54 meter. 7.54 meter. Okay, so now if you see this 7.54 meter, okay, this is complete. So what happens is, this is, you can see 3.510. Okay, 3.51. If you double it, it will be 7.2. But we got this as 7.54. Okay, this is 7.54. So it may exceed the boundary or the free edge. This is the free edge. Okay, this is the support. So it may exceed the free edge. So we have to modify this value. Modify BE1. So how to modify? So BE1 is equal to whatever you got, that divided by 2 plus this half the carriageway width, that is 3.51. Okay, so 7.54 divided by 2 plus 3.51 will give you the effective width for first axle. Axle 1, it's coming out to be 7.282 meters. A small, somewhat more than that one only, but we'll stop it here. It is 7.282 meter. Okay, the way you have calculated the effective width for axle 1, X1, BE1, then changing the value of BW, and then again modifying the value of BE1, we got BE1 as 7.282 meters. Okay, same way we have to calculate for the second axle. Okay, same step. I just remove X1 and replace it by X2, E1, BE1, BE2. Okay, so let us do that. Fine.